Almost 2 years ago, I sat here in this seat and reported on the injuries a 3-year-old child sustained to her stomach area. In December, officials officially dropped those neglect charges against Donald Weekly related to that girl's injuries. But Weekly says he's still getting harassed by people even though he's done nothing wrong.
His whole intent was to just make our lives miserable.
Even though authorities dismissed a charge of child neglect against Donald Weekly, he says he's still being harassed.
Just like the other day, I had somebody post on one of my pictures that I'm smiling in on Facebook. They said, "Oh, you're smiling, yet you almost killed a baby."
In 2011, a grand jury indicted Weekly, accusing him of hurting 3-year-old Kylie. Weekly dated Kylie's mother at the time.
I was devastated, and then to not be allowed around her while she was going through that, and to have the finger pointed at me, I mean, you know, it was the worst time of my life.
Why were you going to plead guilty in November?
The reason I was going to plea is because that put the control back into my hands. But then once, I went to the courtroom and, I realized that I did nothing wrong, and I just wasn't going to settle for that anymore. So that's when I decided to turn down the plea, and I was going to let it go to jury.
The case didn't get that far. The prosecutor dropped the charges a month later in December 2012 as new evidence came to light.
The medical evidence clearly states when the timeline that the injury happened in, I had to present receipts of where I was at them times, and I was nowhere near the house.
Despite all the things taken from Weekly,
I spent 44 days in jail. I spent 6 months on house arrest. I had to pay $2,500 bond that I'll never get back.
He's now just trying to move forward.
That's why I decided to do this interview, so I can get it out there that, the charges were dismissed against me. If you really want to know the truth and what happened, go to the courthouse and get them transcripts. And, don't judge me by what you hear, judge me by the facts.
I spoke with the prosecutor for an update on this case. Now, after authorities dropped those charges against Weekly, the case was again presented to the grand jury. That grand jury found no probable cause, and no one has been indicted in regards to this case. Reporting for News 9, I'm Kelly Camerote.